Hello everybody, it's Chibi, and today I'm here to bring you a discussion slash theory crafting video on Death Parade. Now, I'm making this video after the recent events that happened in episode 2 of Death Parade, so if you have yet to actually watch episode 2 of Death Parade yet today, I recommend you actually go watch that first, because I will spoil some events that happened in episode 2. So anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what I really want to talk about. So in my review, I talked about pretty much the entire episode, and there was a couple things I really wanted to go further in depth with that I did not do, and so with this video, I'm pretty much going to be theory crafting along with going even further in depth with the couple situation. So, at the end of episode 2, there was a little dialogue segment that Nona actually says, the white-haired girl that goes up the floors to heaven or whatever. Well, she states that the assistant needs work because the husband, in his nature, he's untrusting. Like, he will not trust people at all. And I didn't actually dive into that much in my review, so I actually want to dive into that with this discussion video. So, the actual husband. Here was what I found very interesting after thinking about that entire dialogue. For one thing, is that Nona actually says that that guy, pretty much, they wouldn't have been happy. Like, the couple would not have been happy no matter what, even if the wife was to never have cheated on her husband. Let's just say this. Let's throw this out the window, okay? Let's say that wife never cheated on her husband at all. And we already know technically the child is the husband's, but still, the point of it is all cheating was thrown and it's off the table. Like, it's not even on the table anymore. The husband would still not trust his wife. This is where the aspects of humanity's darkness actually come into play. Because the man, his soul, he's an untrusting person. Like, he doesn't trust. 100%. And this would eventually have led to more unhappiness down the road with the couple. Just because, let's say, the wife never cheated, doesn't mean that the husband would never have thought she would have cheated. Like, what I'm getting at is that the male, the husband, still would have eventually have found something later on down the road about his wife that he did not trust. And which in turn would have led to unhappiness. And so, what Nona actually said at the end of the episode was that no matter what would have happened, even if those two friends never said nothing, even if they never said nothing, said that, you know, Machi or, you know, the wife pretty much never cheated, there still would have been unhappiness eventually. And so that is showing you both sides of humanity, like when it comes to those two characters. Like, you have it to where, even if this never happened, even if they didn't die because of the ordeal of cheating, something else would have came around to where there would have been unhappiness because of how the husband was. And this is where the actual darkness of the series goes and what is really deep about this recent episode. For instance, the husband, as we know, since he got reincarnated, he went back to the actual real human world, or whatever they call it there with Dakeem. Pretty much, he went back, got reincarnated as another human being. And this is where the interesting aspects of this recent episode plays with, and I felt like it was very intriguing how they hinted in this episode that even if you remove all the memories of a human, their soul would still technically be dark. That's pretty much what Nona actually said in this episode. Like, for instance, since the couple had all their memories removed, their still actual personality of their soul will still come out. And that's how technically Dakeem or different bartenders or arbiters can actually judge the people in question. And so what this means, what Nona actually said at the end of the episode, was that male, a male character, the husband, he will be back for probably the same exact reasons of how he got sent there in the first place. For instance, the man is untrusting, like he doesn't trust people. And that in turn is eventually going to lead to something very similar in his life. And so, even though he's in a new body, he's being reincarnated, his self, his actual soul is still there. The basis or the starting point of his soul is there. And so, the actions he chose in the judging will technically still happen when he gets reincarnated. Like, he will eventually might find someone, and he will not be trusting of that person when he gets into a couple with someone, which will lead to his downfall or death. And so, that is the beauty of episode 2. It showcases that even though this dude got lucky and he didn't go to the void, but he went to, you know, reincarnation, he got reincarnated as a different being, he still will probably end back up in Dakeem, Queen Dakeem or whatever it's called. He will still end back up in this place because of his soul, of how it was already. And the void, as we know, froze and cast the soul into a void, a darkness, and they're lost in there. So technically these souls that were very corrupt and dark, they don't get a chance to actually go back to a body and try again. But even if your soul is already corrupted, there's nothing you do. You'll still make those same mistakes. So this is where this series is actually playing with the darkness of humanity. So I was like, holy shit, when I figured out that entire element when it came to this episode in the recent episodes. So moving past that, okay? Moving past the essence that the main husband, he will come back eventually in a different body, let's go to other factors of this episode. So, I noticed in this episode, it was very subtle. It was very, very subtle until I saw the ending song, which hints at an entirely new perspective, and I neglected to talk about it much. I hinted at it in my review. I actually said it right at the end of my review of today I put out for Death Parade, but I didn't actually go in depth with it, what I really meant. Well, when the ending song, if you look closely at the ending song is very dark, a very dark ending song, and you see in the visuals, you see a bunch of mannequins and puppets and dolls broken and shattered, and you see, like, at the last screenshot of the ending song, you see this doll with a green eye, and half of its face is crushed in, and you see nothing inside. And when I started thinking about it, I started realizing, what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of those mannequins in the ending song? And so I'm going to actually talk about that in just a second. So, at the beginning of the episode, when the mannequins were shown in episode 2, you have the new assistant girl actually see this and she freaks out. She's like, holy shit, what is this? And Nona, as we know, she states like, oh, it's nothing. It's just Akeem's, you know, twisted hobby. He loves making mannequins and dolls and shit. So, pretty much she threw on that these mannequins or dolls are made by Akeem. Okay? That's what she said. And it makes me believe that there might be something else going on here, which I'm about to get into. So the assistant believes that these dolls or mannequins were actually made by Akeem. And Nona says that. Well, with the ending song, it makes me think differently. It really, really does. Because the atmosphere and mood of the ending song, it's different from the entirety of what we've seen thus far. Like, okay, here's the theory. What if those dolls or those mannequins were actually people casted into the void? Like, let's put it this way. Let's say the assistant at the moment that came back, like she states she has no name. That's what she states right at the beginning of episode 2. She has no name, she doesn't remember nothing, and it's very odd and weird. Like, why is she so different from the others? Like, why is she different from these humans that have lost their memories, and they come back up and they eventually gain these memories back? And so it makes me think, like, what is different from the assistant? Like, why does this assistant not remember nothing? But she has to be something, a human. I remember back when I watched Death Billers, there was an actual theory stating that the assistant girl was actually a demon. And then you had it to where Akeem, he was an angel because of the eyes. The eyes, since it had a cross on Akeem, he was an angel, and you had it to where the assistant was a demon. I saw an actual Chibi mention this. And after this episode, it makes me think differently, because it makes me think that in the void, that maybe they could get a second chance. Maybe they get a second chance and their entire soul gets purged, they forget everything, and when that happens, they get a chance to be an assistant. And we found out at the end of the recent episode, episode 2, is that this girl, this assistant, only has 3 months with her term. And so, I'm guessing in these 3 months, maybe she's actually trying to prove something to whoever's, like, looking over her, looking at her judgment. Maybe she's getting a second chance to be reincarnated again. That's a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of questions there, because what if these assistants or whatever are actually people that have had to go through trials, like, you know, they were once in the void, and then they got reincarnated into this little middle area, or this middle dimension between life and death? What if, you know, they were put here to just be judged again after they went into the void? That's a possibility. I'm willing to bet it. And so, it makes me believe that the mannequins at the ending song is actually people that have either failed, or, even further than this, there's also a symbolic meaning to those mannequins that I didn't catch on until I started thinking about it after the review. What if those mannequins actually represent the human soul? Let me explain. Let's just say Akeem does make the mannequins, okay? And let's throw out the theory that maybe this assistant is from the void, okay? Let's just throw that out. It still doesn't throw out the actual essence that she might be a doll. But even then, what if these dolls are actually representations of the human body? Like, when someone gets sent back, okay, to the human world, like they get reincarnated, what if these mannequins that are made, because we actually see the dude in the episode 1, he gets tied up with strings and all that, what if the actual mannequins are the next human bodies to come? Like, what if Dakeem makes human bodies? For instance, in, religion and stuff, they say that the actual body is the shell or the house of the soul. And since this series is using religion and souls and stuff, what if the mannequins are representation of the human body, and they're the shell of houses the soul? And so Dakeem or Nona or whoever makes these mannequins to put the soul inside and then sends them to the human world. Pretty fucked up if you think about it like that, huh? So, no matter how the body changes, like even if you change the shell, the soul will still be dark. That's another deep meaning to this episode. And so I like that. I like that. No matter how the outward appearance changes, the inner appearance will never change. So you get what I'm saying, though? It's really dark and deep with this latest episode. It makes you think about a lot of things about these mannequins and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty much all I need to cover with this discussion video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you want to see any more discussion videos in the future with Death Parade, I might do them. It depends on if there is any more deep things I really want to discuss about later on when it comes to the series. Let me know. Love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe, and Chibi out.